Hey guys, I've got a cool project that I wanted to share with you today. What I've got here is a Commodore 1541 drive with a bad read-write head. That's usually game over for these things, so is there anything we can do besides salvage it for parts? Let's find out right now, here on Retro Bits. Three years ago, I told you not to buy 1541 drives with the Mitsumi Newtronics mechanism inside. Quick recap, over time, moisture from the air can penetrate the coils in the read-write head, which renders the whole thing useless. The earlier ALPS models with the door latch aren't affected. The ones to look out for are these. The 1541-2 with the flush-mounted lever also suffers from the same problem, but the later chin-on model with the recessed lever is fine. I picked up this 1541 in really rough shape for just $10 at a recent VCF swap meet. I actually wanted a drive with a failed head just for this video, and there's no way it'd be working for that price, right?
Well, scratch that. It works great. What are the chances? So, why do we want a dead 1541 in the first place? Well, it all started when Adrian's Digital Basement swapped the mechanism and logic board from an Apple 5¼ drive into a 1541, turning the Commodore unit into a stealth Apple drive instead. As he demonstrates in his video, Apple also used ALPS mechanisms in their drives, and when compared side by side with an early 1541, it turns out that they're very, very similar. Adrian's video inspired Bob's Retro Electronics Workshop to take it a step further. He wanted to know if it's possible to use an ALPS mechanism from the Apple unit to replace a dead Newtronics drive in a 1541 and still keep it Commodore. So that's what I had in mind when I picked up the $10 drive from VCF and hoped that it was DOA. Fortunately, Bob came to the rescue and sent me this Newtronics 1541 with a known bad read-write head, so I can follow in his footsteps and try his experiment out for myself. He also included a modern power supply in the box, which I'll save for a future project.
Here's something curious. The box for the earlier ALPS model opens from the left and right, whereas the box for the later Newtronics model opens from the top and the bottom, but they're otherwise exactly the same. Weird.
So how can we verify that the read-write head has gone bad in this drive? The service manual provides the expected resistance values. We should see from 10 to 30 ohms between each pin of the two coils. Signs that the windings have oxidation damage include high resistance values or an open loop reading. Pin 1 is measuring 15 kiloohms, which indicates this thing is no longer functional.
At the same VCF event, I scored these two Apple 5¼ drives for just $5 each. They're pretty beat up and covered in something sticky, but I tested them out on my 2GS, and while this drive has issues, this one is working great, so we have a good donor candidate here. We already know from Adrian's video that there are ALPS mechanisms inside the Apple drives, but in case there was any doubt, look how similar they are to each other. The first challenge is going to be adapting the wiring from the Apple drive to work with the 1541 logic board, since the connectors are completely different. Fortunately, schematics are available for both the ALPS and Newtronics 1541s, But there are no service manuals or pinouts available for the Apple connector, so we're going to have to reverse engineer the thing. To figure out the Apple pinout, I've taken apart my good ALPS 1541 as well. I'll need to trace where each wire goes to on the drive, and then I can match it up to the same part on the Apple unit.
With the functions of each wire from the 1541 service manual traced back to the Apple harness, I was able to construct this chart. From here on out, we no longer need the working ALPS drive anymore, so I can get that off the bench. After that, I looked at the bad Newtronics 1541 and used its service manual to add the wiring to my chart. There are some slight differences in wire color between the two 1541s, but the connectors and functions are otherwise identical. In some cases, I needed to measure voltage with the drive powered up to determine polarity. I'm glad I checked everything thoroughly with my multimeter because I found several mistakes in the service manual. The color and functions of pin 8 and 9 are reversed, and where it states 13 and 14, it's actually 12 and 13. Good old Commodore quality assurance.
As far as adapting the wiring, we have a few options. One would be to cut off the connectors and splice the 1541 plug onto the Apple drive. We could also depin the Apple harness and adapt it to fit the 1541 connector. These crimped ends don't fit inside the Commodore plug, so I'd have to use some generic 2.54mm connectors instead, but it's not a big deal.
In the end, I decided if I'm going to do this, I might as well do it right. So let's make it a plug-and-play affair and also make it easy for others to do the swap in the future. I've never designed a PCB before, but the tools are free and accessible enough to learn the basics in a few hours. The project itself is really simple, so it's kind of the perfect opportunity to learn on. I also got some solid advice from the good folks over on the Retro Hardware Discord, so check that out if you're into retro hardware. A link is in the description, as are the Gerber files for this project. The real trick is whether I got the measurements right. To get the center-to-center spacing, I measured from the edges of 2 pins and then added the diameter of a single pin. Spacing between P5 and P6 is not the same as between P6 and P7. Oh, and thanks to Justin for lending me these digital calipers. My cheapo plastic ones are only precise to 0.05 millimeters, which isn't enough for this application.
After a week of waiting impatiently, the first iteration arrived. And through the magic of YouTube, here it is, all soldered up. My very first PCB. How cool is that? Speaking of which, let's talk about today's sponsor. Haha, just kidding. I wouldn't do that to you guys. Anyway, the real questions are, will it fit? And more importantly, will it work? Huh. These wires should be yellow and brown, not orange and black. Something's not right. So check this out. I based my schematic on the non-working Apple drive, but look here, the wire pairs are reversed on the good drive. On pins 19 and 20, we have brown and yellow on this drive, and we have black and orange on this one. And if we look at pins 17 and 18, there's where we find black and orange on this drive. So it looks like they've swapped the pairs, which is really interesting because both of these drives have exactly the same revision. So that's really odd.
The good Apple drive has the A and B wire pairs reversed from the dead drive that I used to model the PCB. The read-write head uses a bipolar stepper motor, which should still move in the correct direction, but the phase may shift, changing the 0 position and thus affecting head alignment. I'm going to repin the 4 wires on the working drive's connector so they match my schematic just to be safe.
Awesome. It looks like I got the measurements correct. We'll have to address the activity LED later on, but the more important issue we haven't tackled yet is whether or not the logic board from this Newtronics 1541 can even support an earlier ALPS drive or not.
Bob already figured this part out, and the answer is right here in the factory service manual. Later revision 1541 boards have support for both drive models. We just need to cut jumper J6. All right, moment of truth. Wow, it's actually working. Honestly, I half expected to have to spin another revision of the PCB at the very least. I guess checking every wire and measurement 20 times paid off. Just to verify, off camera I swapped the stepper motor pins back to their original configuration. As I suspected, the drive had trouble finding track 1 on the first try, but got it on the second attempt. While it could load programs, I think I'm going to keep it with the pins swapped. As we can see here, the track alignment program reports that the head is spot on with this setup. I don't know how the Apple drive works with the two different motor control arrangements, so if you do, let us know in the comments. This test shows us the drive speed, which is dead on the money at 300 RPM, plus or minus 0.1. I didn't have to adjust anything here, so the Apple unit clearly uses the same drive speed and was in perfect working order, despite its outward appearance. One more thing I want to check is whether the write protect sensor is working. For that, I'll save a small basic program to disk, apply a write protect tab, then try and delete the file. Nice. It's almost like I know what I'm doing.
Right, the swap drive is working perfectly, but I think it needs to look the part as well. Fortunately, there are 3D models for the faceplate and the drive latch already out there. Now we need to sort out the activity LED. The ALPS drive uses a round part, but both the Apple and Newtronics drives use rectangular LEDs, so we can't use either of those as donors. The LED was originally powered by P6 here, but since there's no provision for it on the Apple connector, I added a breakout here on the board. And I've already taken the liberty of soldering and crimping up a separate cable so we can use that. I found this old LED in a box of parts from a college project from back in the 90s. I think it looks the part and is sufficiently vintage, but a 1541 will have a little collar around it that lets it sit properly into the fixture, and I don't have an extra one of those, so this isn't going to work. So I made a quick modification to the 3D model I found online, and I think this is going to work perfectly. One final issue is the RF shield. In order to install it, I would need to cut a notch in the metal here so it would clear the adapter board, but I think in this case I'm just going to leave it out because it's not needed and the drive will run cooler without it anyway.
As of now, there's still no practical way to completely fix a failed read-write head in a Newtronics drive, but this proves that an ALPS swap is a viable alternative. Everything seems to be working perfectly, even games with copy protection.
Oh yeah, that came out even better than I could have hoped for. It works perfectly and looks the part now as well. If only my bread bin were the correct color. You know what? I think it's been blue long enough.
If you've been here a while, you may remember when I sprayed my bread bin with PlastiDipped, a removable synthetic rubberized coating. It's been over 5 years since then, and I was concerned the product may have dried and gotten brittle, which would have made removal far more difficult. I was also worried that the black base layer might have stained the plastic, but as it turns out, both worries were unfounded. Ah, that's better. The dead 1541 is back on its feet with a new ALPS heart that isn't missing a beat. It's also looking pretty good to boot. Now, I'll admit, some of you are going to be less than thrilled that I sacrificed an Apple drive to save a Commodore one. I get it, but with the adapter board, the operation is completely non-destructive and 100% reversible. I can easily revert the changes depending on the need, and I have a cool project to share with you guys. Yeah, it'd probably be easier just to buy a working ALPS or Chinon 1541 instead of jumping through all these hoops, but it's always nice to have more options.
Thanks again to Bob Costi for pioneering this procedure and sending me the 1541 to experiment on. I hope you enjoyed this bit. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time on Retro Bits.
And if you've made it this far, why not check out some of our other videos as well? There are over 120, so hopefully you'll find something else of interest. Have fun!